You know, I'm a very ambitious planner. I love having my calendar packed with everything. I love seeing my schedule just like stack with things to do. And I love having projects. I love having all of these lists that I want to complete. And I love having deadlines. I love having all of these other things. And then I do everything last minute, just like recording this video on the morning of 31st, 2024, about the end of the year, right about when the year is about to end. But nevertheless, 2024, one of the years ever. You know, it had its big ups and big downs, but it was a year that happened and we all went through this collectively. Personally, for me, this was one of the most prolific and fruitful years creatively in terms of projects and in terms of everything that I've done. However, I do always fall in this same pitfall of burnout and frustration and just overall stress fatigue, where by the end of the year and during the summers, I am just like in a big slump. Like what I mentioned about the calendars, I didn't have anything on the calendar this time and I had a lot of stuff to do. I have an EP that just came out like 2 days ago. I made the pilot episode of Monte Crest, which was filmed in this room alongside of my friends. It was very exciting. And meanwhile, I'm also navigating the college life of finishing my junior year and starting my senior year, going into the last semester of my senior year, which is, I don't want to quite talk about that. But, you know, very exciting still. You know, while all of these things are great and I love doing them, it also was very taxing on me, my body, and mentally, just going through the motions of completing all of these things where there were great emotional pitfalls that I had to go through, where I was on the couch and I wasn't able to do anything just besides playing video games or like watching movies and eating ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I was looking for tools and mechanisms which I can implement in my life as like general framework or something to be inspired by, to just look at it and visualize my goals. That's how I stumbled into the idea of vision board. I was thinking about doing a vision board since like kind of beginning of the fall, kind of being like, yeah, I do like manifesting and I do like visualizing my goals. However, when it came to execution of the idea and looking for references of vision boards, I usually saw things on the more material side of people wanting houses, cars, pools, watches, whatever, what kind of body they wanted, what kind of partner they wanted, what kind of vacation they wanted. And while all of this is fine, and those are definitely normal ones, it did not particularly resonate with me how I wanted to view my year. So I liked the idea of a vision board, but it felt very specific and I just didn't know what to do with it. It is hard to predict what's going to happen within the year, what kind of opportunities going to arise, or how we need to adapt to the circumstances. So I figured what would be helpful for me is to have a general framework of the things that I value and what I just want to get out of the year. And you know, even on the 30th, a day before, I was in such a slump where I was just like, oh, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to complete more things. Like everything seems so packed and like I don't even want to schedule anything because I won't meet the deadline. So there's like so much to do. So with everything said, I was asking myself, how can I still be ambitious while having a more sustainable framework and more sustainable pillars on which I can rely on? So here are some things that I want to do in 2025. First of all, to reframe, whether it's in my head or in the environment, and I'm talking a big picture here. I'm talking about limiting beliefs of, oh, well, I'm not sure if I can do this or if it's going to be the way I want it. What if I'm not going to be able to achieve? What if something gets in the way and I would not be able to deliver? And having all of these worries, fears, anxieties that make us feel trapped and that we're not progressing as time goes by. So what I want to achieve in tackling these limiting beliefs is look into the core of them. What is the core fear? What is the core obstacle that prevents me mentally from stepping over this hurdle and proceeding with the way I want to? Because currently, although I do step over this hurdle at some point or like kind of step over it, it comes with a lot of pressure from within and just overall procrastination, not having a general sense of direction. So one of the methods that I was thinking about, and it's going to sound a little bit cliche, is enjoying the moment and being grateful for the things that you already have, such as, well, immediately I have all of these things that I can record this video on and I can post it online. I receive education that I like. I have wonderful friends who are very supportive and are there for me when I need them. And I'm also grateful to be there for them. However, moving outside of our head into the objective material reality, one of the things that I do when I reframe is, well, quite literally this room. One of the hurdles that we can step over is the way we interact with reality. For example, I was in my pajamas. I was eating ice cream this morning and watching movies, not particularly wanting to do anything. However, once I took a shower and I put these nice clothes and I put on cologne and I got my hair pretty and all that, suddenly I feel more like the person who would want to record this video instead of thinking about recording this video. I also want to create an environment and a place in which I could reduce stress more and foster more positive feelings, such as physically blocking off the room into several blocks. We don't need walls here, but just to have the particular physical boundaries, for example, with this carpet, and designating each area to a very specific activity, such for example, bed is for sleeping, desk is for working, couch is for having fun. And it's not just to discipline myself. I would want to create an association with a particular physical space and the feeling that I want to evoke. And by doing this connection, I feel like I'll be able to jump over a hurdle of procrastination. I'll be like, okay, once we sit down at the desk, it is time to work. If we don't feel like working, we can just go somewhere else. But also, additionally, I do want to make this room pretty. I do want to have a lot of decorations, and I want to express myself more via this room by hanging up posters, by having all these accessories. I do already have a lot of things in my room that are quite nice and are reflective of me. But in simpler terms, I just want to give place more and more personality. And also, very majorly, keeping it more clean and more organized. I'm not sure if I need to really explain the benefits of keeping the place organized outside of it just looking nice. But outside of customizing my room, I also want to customize myself. Number 2, revamp. I feel like my progress of style has been pretty interesting. I remember there was a particular shift in high school where my freshman, sophomore year, I was wearing very colorful clothes, very bright clothes. And then somewhere in junior year of high school, I just started to wear dark clothes until now, more like in the vein of Tumblr 2014 2016 era, because outside of this, what I'm missing is a choker and American Apparel underwear. And also during the junior year of high school, I decided that I want to keep my hair long, and for the majority of my life I had my hair really short. Like at a certain point in 2017, I got my first buzz cut, which went I would rather not talk about that. So around my junior year, I decided that I want to grow up my hair. And by the time of my sophomore year of college, it was very long. It was like this. And I started cutting it more like shoulder length. However, at a certain point, I got really bored. And I was like, I miss dyeing my hair. Oh yeah, one of the things, when I had my hair short, I also loved dyeing it. I dyed it bright red, I dyed it purple. I loved bleaching my hair all the time. So recently in November, I dyed my hair pink. Pastel pink, and I loved it very much. I felt like finally I was in my element. But now it washed out and I got this. And I don't have much to complain, but it gets to a point where I kind of do miss it being a little bit shorter, or maybe not even shorter, but just trying out something new, because I've had this for quite some time already. And maybe it's time for a change. Maybe there's some crazy haircut that I do want to try, like a mohawk. But also the other thing that I was thinking about in terms of customizing myself is getting piercings. Full disclosure, I am terrified of piercing my body, period. I am afraid of needles like a motherfucker. However, outside of getting the ear piercings, another piercing that I was thinking about is a septum piercing. With that one, I'm not sure if I will get it, but I've been thinking about it for quite some time, and I tried a clip-on and it looked pretty good. But returning to style of my clothes, I am grateful to have the clothes that I already have. And with thrifting and secondhand being more accessible nowadays, I do want to feel like I want to try to find my style that would fit more of my essence. Don't get me wrong, I do like having this style. However, I feel like there is more to just, shirts and a pair of jeans. And while it's not going to be immediate and it takes years to, find something that really feels like it's projecting the essence from within, and I don't want to overconsume, so there's going to be a lot of hard thinking happening there. Conversely, from the outside going into the inside, I feel like I want to revamp how I track my progress and how I track my successes in life. Personally, I like being busy. It's like my favorite state to be in. And when I don't feel like I'm busy with anything, I get kind of depressed. It also feels very easy to be like, oh, I've completed this certain thing. Now let's move on to the next one. I want to establish this more celebratory, this more highlight occasions. For example, I've done a collage on my Instagram of how my year went, and that felt very cathartic because I was able to outline all of the things that I've done in a year, and I was like, oh, I feel less anxious about the year coming to an end because I can see all of the stuff that I've done throughout the year and to be like, wow, this was a very fruitful year for me. A lot of things had happened. So I feel like in the vein of that, what if I were to create more of these kind of collages or more similar occasions where I can properly celebrate the thing happening. And within that, I will be able to look at it and be like, I did in fact achieve these certain kind of things with this period of time, and it feels like I am on a right track. I feels like I'm progressing and feels like I'm moving forward with life. But as I'm keeping busy and I have all of these projects and I have these deadlines and I have all of this pressure and it's all just going up and up and up and up and up, it's burnout. Everything's falling down. Oh, snap. So one of the things that I want to include in my year and try to achieve is to find the ways to recharge. There are a gajillion ways that people will tell you how to recharge, how to achieve the state of calmness and tranquility and just everything being nice. However, I've outlined them into two things. First one being stillness. Nowadays, it is very easy to find a way to be stimulated. Pause. No, really, there is a constant stream of content, music, stuff that's happening. You're watching this video right now. This is content. There's always so much information, so much noise that it's almost kind of rare to find a moment of peace outside of sleep. There's a constant tsunami of things just happening in the world that is very easy to find yourself entertained and find yourself overstimulated by everything. So one of the things that I want to do is to allow my brain breathe, reduce the auditory and visual stimulation of the world, and maybe find a few minutes to, meditate, sit in a room in silence, and allow for my thoughts and my thinking to flourish, have a conversation with myself, or have no conversation at all and just have a full state of flow with the world. But also, very importantly, is to ground myself, because it's very easy to find yourself off track, just in your thoughts, head in the clouds, just thinking about all this other stuff while you being barraged with countless fucking information right in your face. That sometimes just being present in the moment, just being right here, right now, for a couple of minutes, and then to re-enter the world more clear-headed. However, the converse of stillness is motion. I feel like as a world collective, there is a weird approach to what we call negative emotions, such as frustration, anxiety, all of these things, where we feel like that the great way to deal with them is to suppress them and just, keeping it to yourself, keeping it inside. No matter how much you try to keep it within you, it still stays within your body and it will still manifest in one way or the other. So it is better to find an appropriate and a healthy outlet to just, rid all of these things from your body, rid of the things you don't need, and just go on your merry way. I mean, if the guys from ancient Greece have figured out the connection between the mind and the body, and then you need to train both, and you cannot just train one without the other, I feel like maybe there is some truth in that. I don't know. One of the obvious answers, gym. However, I feel like there is more outlets to engage yourself in the physical activity. It doesn't have to be intense. It can be literally just hikes. I mean, hikes can be intense. So to recharge, I want to allow for my head and for my body to recharge. I wanted to be a professional soccer player once. Not too seriously, but I was a pretty decent defender and a pretty decent goalkeeper. However, sometime in high school, I just stopped following soccer and I only picked it up somewhere in the middle of college, where I was like, oh wait, this is actually was one of my passions. Why did I stop following this? This is still interesting. Where I had to go back and learn all of the lore that took between the year of 2020 to now, which not a lot of lore, but However, what I want to do is to rekindle. I feel like sports are a great community finder and a great just common topic. For example, I'm a Liverpool supporter. We're having such a great year, by the way. Knocking on wood. But there's also a bar in Los Angeles that is designated spot for Liverpool fans. And I feel like it would be a good place for a finding community, or just finding a place, a third place to just be in and share this common interest with people. Or even outside of that, on a more local level here, I'm a big fan of LAFC. I know LA Galaxy won MLS Cup. You don't have to remind me about that. But even on this level, there's a great joy to find in MLS. And I feel like I'm just yet to discover it. I feel like I kept soccer this a very me thing. This can be one of the stepping stones with which I can step out into the world and find a greater community that I have not engaged with and I didn't even look for. However, if we really think about it, hobbies on a greater scale, on a more intense scale, are our passions. And I feel like one of the things that I want to rekindle is this. A little bit about me. I used to make videos all the time as a kid. Actually, on this camera too. I remember I used to do movie reviews. I liked watching movie reviews, and I was making other videos just sharing my opinions online. But then at a certain point, I decided to delete them because I was kind of cringe. And I reprioritized my goals into being like more private, more like project, more art centered, where I was like, no, I want to spend like only time releasing art and like this specific thing. Recently, and this like a year ago, recently, I've been having like little thoughts of like, oh, I want to make like a YouTube video. I want to make like some concept, some whatever. I want to just like, yap on camera. However, going back into the limiting beliefs, I was like, but no, I want to pursue acting. I want to pursue certain things. And like, I'm not sure. And like, I don't really want to invest my time and energy into this. However, very recently in November, I was like, I have this certain topic that I just really, really want to talk about. And I just like, I need to get this out of me because I feel like I have things to share. I have stories to share and I have a perspective to share. And maybe it's not like the most revolutionary, newest perspective out there, but I feel like if I just put it out there, there will be a person who will resonate with this, even if it is just like yapping about myself and my experiences. But I also feel like video making on a more casual level is a really great creative outlet for me. Mainly, I find it very cathartic talking to the camera, talking to myself, like about my life. And also it is an extra challenge for me not to have these bursts of like ideas and moments, but actually put my ideas in a narrative, into a complete sentence. Just me, microphone, talking to a camera, good light, talking about stuff. But going back to all of this other things that I've outlined, which like, oh, we have the acting thing that I've mentioned, and I have the music thing that I mentioned. Let's do a remix. And while remix is more of a pun by how I want to engage with art and engage with people in the art communities, there are two ways I feel like it can be approached. Firstly, one of the things that I've learned, you grow more when you're challenged by the people who do know more than you are and have more experience than you. And that way you'll be able to evolve in the craft that you're doing. For example, for me, it's songwriting and production, and I want to create better songs. So being with people who are more knowledgeable about this, or with my contemporaries who are on the same level as mine, there is a great deal of potential of bringing everybody together and creating projects together. Even if it's not a full release, it can be just like, a live performance or a remix, or in whatever form it can be that is like maybe like not too official, or maybe it can be too official. And secondly, people who are doing all of these other things, sculptors, painters, animators. This is just like some of the vocations that I'm thinking about in my head. There is a great deal of just like talking to these people and learning more from them, and maybe creating an environment and projects with which it can be a two-way street. Hey, you know how to animate? I know how to do music. I can do music for you. You can animate my stuff. There is some transaction going on. Maybe not without money, maybe with money. Who knows? But the core thing about it is that it's interaction with people of two different skill sets that can help each other. It's just simply beautiful. That was so corny. But you know what's not corny? That friendship is indeed magic. Another thing that I want to do is to reconnect. Not to get too personal. I have two younger siblings and our age gaps are like very big. My younger brother is like 8 years younger than I am, and my little sister is another 8 years younger, so like 16 years younger than I am. I am like thousands of miles away from them, and there is a big age gap outside of the occasional conversation of just like how are you kind of thing. I feel like there is like a great deal that I can personally do to connect more with my younger siblings. I understand I am Gen Z, they're Gen Alpha, they have Skibbity Toilet, I have Huck Tua to worry about. There's there's like maybe a big cultural disparity. However, reconnected with the family, even though like I am not physically with them all the time, will be just like overall a great thing to connect with family. Getting to know your siblings better and like help them out more frequently would be just a good thing to do. But it's also can be like a natural thing. As they grow up, I'll be able to help them out more. I feel like even on these stages, there's a great deal that I can do as like older sibling, being like, hey, what's up? What can I do? What can I do? You know what I mean? What can I do? However, outside of that, it's friends. To keep up with the friends that are like immediately you always hang out with and like you always around with. Let's call it the inner bubble of friends. However, there's a greater bubble of people that are like you kind of hang out with, you kind of see on a regular basis as a college student, but like there's like you interact sometimes. However, thinking post-grad and thinking just like, oh, I'm becoming like more of an adult and like I will have more adult responsibilities going outside of college, there'll be more conscious effort that I would need to do to connect with people and to find them and like talk to them outside of just like meeting them impromptu or like just like seeing them on the street. And although it's very nice, we do live in the United States where having like a proper meet and greets is important, and like that's how you meet people, I guess. So I feel like it would be just like generally a great thing to be like, oh, I haven't hang out with this person like quite some time. I feel like it would be very appropriate for me to, meet up with them, maybe get some coffee, maybe like do a particular certain activity, maybe go bowling. Hey Nico, do you want to go bowling? Doing something small. I don't know, like trying sorbets. Have you ever tried a pineapple sorbet? It's actually pretty good. But another thing is that there is another bigger bubble of people that I know, but people that I have not really interacted with, people that I've been in classes with, and we do follow each other on Instagram and whatever, and I do like their posts, but outside of like a passing like maybe conversation once that we had, that has not been like much. And I feel like it would be just like genuinely a nice thing to dare to be the person who reaches out and to be like, hey, you seem cool, do you want to hang out? Because sometimes like, yeah, I do feel like that I want to like hang out with this person, but I also feel like, but maybe they have like their own thing going on, or maybe just like, maybe I need to wait for like a better time, and just message them being like, hey, what's up? Do you want to try pineapple sorbet? Because outside of that, if we don't reach out and just like think about reaching out, it just becomes like a fictionalized infinite potential of how the interaction with the person is going to go, and we will never know that. And if the person doesn't reach out back, where maybe didn't get a response, but at least you got an answer. And speaking of infinite potential that is just inside of your head, one of the things that I'm looking forward to doing is to release music, art, just like get it out of my system. I've already talked about making videos and how rewarding it all feels. However, pertaining to music and like other things in general, I feel like although I have been doing a lot of planning in this regard, the execution have been so-so. I feel like generally what I want to do in terms of releasing, it feels like I record everything like very last minute, or just like, oh, I want to meet this deadline, but like I don't quite have anything, or I would need to do like this thing a day before. For example, full disclosure, I did not have a full mix of Later until like 2 days before the EP release. And I was just like, fuck, well, I need to do the song, so like let me put out a mix quickly. And it was a pretty good mix. So, outside of the song taking like 4 years to make, was pretty good. Yeah. So speaking of these 4 years, releasing stuff, so I just don't have like gajillion of songs that are waiting to be released, and I'm just like walking around in circles to be like, oh, but when is the perfect opportunity to release? Now is a good response that I can say, just like to complete the project and to put it out there. However, what I want to do in terms of completing the project is to maybe have like a certain list of things that I want to do, and to be like, oh, I need to do all of this list first. And then as we completed all of this stuff, and with all the stuff that I want to put out, fully completed state, then go into the being like, oh, let's look into the schedule of releasing. Would be schedule of making it, but there's also a schedule of releasing it. Although I know there's like a different concept like in the bigger industry that there is a certain deadline. However, I can approach it my own way because I'm kind of my own boss here. At least that's the way that I want to try doing this. And I feel like it would be more sustainable for me in a long run, where it would be like, oh, I already have like all of these things either fully planned out or fully made, and now I can release all of them without having this pressure of like, oh my god, I need to do a live for Breakdown and the year is almost over. Oh my god. I mean, I did it like a day ago. So generally, I do want to try this approach where everything is already done and it's just ready to be released, and not meeting all of these like deadlines that I superimposed on myself, being like, oh, I do want to make this, but like I'm just like have been procrastinating or just like not tackling that. Let's complete them, and as they're completed, find out what schedule would work for me best. In a similar vein with like videos and everything else, there is a concept of bulk recording that like I have not just tried. Sometimes the spur of the moment is just like the spur of the moment, and like I have this motivation, to have this idea that I'm just like, oh, let me just do this thing in the moment. But I feel like although I am in the moment and it like feels great, it does take a toll, and sometimes it prevents me from completing something long term, because I'll be like, oh, but like I need to complete this thing right now that I just like thought of, and this like long term project, it can wait. I really need to complete this thing that I'm and oh snap, wait, the time has passed and now it's like a different month and I still have not touched this thing. God darn. So yeah, in terms of releasing, there's gonna be a lot of reflection into being like, oh, how can I do this sustainably? How can I do this on my own schedule? How can I get back into the enjoying the process more, being like, oh, like I need to make music, but I also need to make like all of this other stuff, and like I do, not that I need to, but like I want to. But everything is just takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. But I do want to provide a good space and good environment for the enjoyment of making music and having this state of flow, and to allow myself to fully enjoy the moment without being like, oh, there's like gajillion other things that I need to think about. But to be like, this is a space where I create art. This is a space where I create music. This is a space where I am in love with music and I am happy to make it. I'm happy to produce it. I'm happy to do all of this stuff, where I'll be happy to be creative. So I'm looking forward to 2025. There's a lot of things that I have planned out already coming into the year. To reiterate, the big idea that I want to introduce is that I'm already ambitious. I already want to do all of these things. However, what is a better pathway for me to do all of these things and complete all of these things and be fulfilled by all of these things, while also doing all of this sustainably? To maybe reducing the volume of this, to maybe this, at least on a personal level. In conclusion, if I want to outline what I want the year 2025 to be, is to be the year of refocus, to be the year of new perspective, to be the year of new experiences, to be the year of finding new joys in smaller things, to be the year of finding joy in bigger things, trying out new stuff, reconnecting with the old stuff, and just overall being present in the moment. Happy New Year.